Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you're connecting from. Thank you very much for joining us today for our learning session entitled The Use of AI and Machine Learning for Evaluation Synthesis. We're really excited to be able to have this learning session today. My name's Ross. I'm an evaluation specialist with UN Women, and I'll be moderating today on behalf of two UNEG working groups. So this session is organized jointly by the UNEG Evaluation Synthesis and the Artificial Intelligence Working Groups. We've been seeing a lot of growing interest and proliferation of evaluation synthesis work within the UN, whether these are individual agency initiatives or through much larger initiatives like the Global SDG Synthesis Coalition. At the same time, as we're all well aware, the popularity of machine learning and AI is exploding with new range of tools appearing seemingly every day. There's a lot of interest within the synthesis community to leverage these approaches and tools to simplify or support different phases of synthesis work. For example, using AI tools to help screen the vast repositories of evaluations to identify relevant reports, using tools to support quality assessments, using AI and machine learning to enhance data extraction through text mining, for example, and using natural language processing to undertake thematic analysis and many other potential opportunities. There's lots of work within our agencies to develop and use these tools for synthesis work. And today we wanted to bring together some of these examples to learn from and to discuss. So we're going to have three presentations. We'll have one from UNFPA and UNICEF, another from UNDP, and then we'll have one from the UN SDG System-Wide Evaluation Office. This will be followed by a discussion and Q&A with the presenters, and feel free to use the chat. However, as much as possible, let's have a conversation once we hear from each presenter. Apologies if you can hear my child who's getting ready for daycare. I know time's limited, so why don't we get going? It's probably a good time to throw the microphone over to someone else. So I'm going to turn it over to Karen and Neha from UNFPA and Tammy from UNICEF to discuss their work piloting some AI tools on a recent synthesis project.
Hey, hello everyone. Thank you, Ross. My name is Neha Karkara. I'm from the UNFPA Independent Evaluation Office, and I'm the team lead for Communications, KM, and AI. I'm joined today by Karen Kadondan from UNFPA and Tammy Aritomi from UNICEF. And today we are here to share a little bit about AI use in the synthesis of evaluations to advance the UN Youth Strategy. This is an interagency exercise and it's being co-chaired by UNFPA and UNICEF. Before now delving into AI's application in this exercise, perhaps we take a moment to trace our path into this AI pilot experimentation. So this pilot was motivated by our new strategy for Gen AI-powered evaluation function at UNFPA. The strategy is available online, and we'd be happy to share the link as well. The pilot was really based on the approach of this strategy, and the strategy actually charts a course for optimizing the evaluation practices through ethical AI use, and the idea is to get greater efficiency, effectiveness, and timeliness in evaluations. The strategy also provides a framework on how do you actually mitigate risks and how do you uphold ethics in AI use. So for example, in the synthesis, how do we uphold data protection and privacy? How do we mitigate biases? How do we ensure transparency? And actually, how do we even avoid over-reliance on AI? Now, this approach was piloted by UNFPA and actually in two exercises, the youth meta-synthesis exercise that we will talk about today, but also the strategic plan evaluation. Now, to apply the strategy practically to the AI pilot, we prioritized two specific elements. First and foremost, humans are not accountable, but humans are accountable, not machines. And how do we practically uphold this in the project design? At the very outset, we made sure that ethical AI use clauses were part of the synthesis exercises contracts, and we really understood what the AI model that we were using was bringing to the table, and that was, put together as part of the contractual, the contract with the AI company, as well as it influenced the project design. We also made sure that we were open about how we were using the AI methodology, and we made sure that, even in from the very outset to the final drafting of the synthesis report, the AI is explained well, not only to the interagency partners, but also, to wider UNEG. And this presentation is very much part of this approach. We also prioritize data protection measures, and we also made sure that there was time for human verification and oversight across the multiple rounds of the analysis. Secondly, we approached this as an investment, and we wanted to be very intentional in the way we were experimenting and making sure that we were adapting as we went. Key to this was making sure that the team itself was upskilled and we were building capacities as we go, since this is a pilot exercise. We also made sure that there was a data scientist that worked with the evaluators and the thematic experts, and that we provided the right investment that the synthesis exercise required, whether it was financial, human, or time. And finally, that we made sure that we were tracking efficiency gains. With this, this is like the broad outline on how this pilot was staged and how it was taken forward. I'm going to pass the floor to my colleague Karen, who will go now deeper into various aspects, including the synthesis design.
Great. Thank you so much, Neha, for that really good overview on UNEP's journey, really to stepping into this AI space. As Neha said, I'll just provide a brief overview of this exercise in which we decided to use AI. It's an interagency exercise, a meta-synthesis of evaluation reports to advance the implementation of the UN Youth Strategy. This exercise is co-chaired by our office, UNFPA, as well as UNICEF. And in this particular exercise, there's 8 UN agencies, as well as 3 youth-led organizations that are participate as members of our management group. It is a third in a series of these synthesis exercise, and really just to generate learning on what works and what doesn't work, and to surface lessons learned around the implementation of the UN Youth Strategy. So reflecting back on these previous synthesis in this series, there were really 3, I guess, reoccurring challenges that we encountered. It was, that I think many encounter in synthesis exercises. The first being just analyzing large amounts of data. It's just proven to be an incredibly time and resource intensive task. Another challenge was just having multiple coders, and having issues with bias and inconsistency in coding. There's always some variability and subjectivity in individual coders that can result in different coding decisions, which of course undermines the reliability of the data that's being coded. And then finally, of course, limited time and resources that affected the depth of our analysis. So just having rushed timelines owing to limited capacity, it just resulted in more, I guess, general or superficial data analysis. So overall, these challenges really highlighted our need to improve strategies and methodologies to enhance the efficiency and usefulness of our future synthesis. And this really was the rationale for AI use in this current synthesis. So, just to go over again, we when reflecting on the use of AI, AI can process large amounts of large volumes of data rapidly and has the potential to streamline the analysis process, reducing the likelihood of human error or bias. The second reason on our use of AI was just to enable more detailed and a systematic coding structure. and extraction of data that can allow for more nuanced and detailed insights. And the third reason was the potential for AI's ability to summarize large data sets, and the ability that it would have to distill just vast amounts of information into concise, informative summaries that would allow our synthesis consultants to quickly grasp key findings and trends without having to kind of wade through all the raw data. So the next slide. So the AI tools that was selected for this synthesis was AI Lies. It's an online AI platform. There's a free version, and it's a platform that's designed for qualitative analysis. What we opted for, and the appeal of this tool, was that it had this option to collaborate with a data scientist who developed the tool for more enhanced insights. And the 3 use case studies for the synthesis exercise are listed here: evaluation, screening, and selection, data coding and extraction, and what I mentioned before, AI-generated summary narratives of the evaluation reports to enhance essentially our analysis by the thematic experts. So just as an example, these narratives would synthesize findings in just kind of coherent, accessible summaries, or highlighting key trends, enabling factors, hindering factors, things of that nature. And the intention really was to offer these summaries to the thematic experts, who would then focus on a deeper analysis and interpretation, rather than, them being bogged down by, these vast amounts of raw data. So the synthesis design, in exploring, I guess, how to integrate AI into the synthesis, we really tried to focus on some key elements to ensure really its effective and intentional use. I think fundamental really to the successful integration of AI in this exercise was just establishing a multidisciplinary synthesis team. So our team consists of thematic experts, those really just deep in with deep knowledge in the subject areas, in this case youth education and youth employment, as well as the data synthesis who developed the tool itself, and he specializes in data analysis and AI methodologies. And I think this combination was really vital and led to more, I'd say, rigorous and contextually relevant analysis. And then I think aside from this, having subject matter experts that really had I'd say an appetite and appreciation for AI and technology, I think that really helped foster our strong team dynamic. The second element really was to develop a conceptual framework tailored to the use of AI. And our framework, it provided a real systematic, structured approach for employing this AI tool. We utilized realist evaluation lens, where we created a coding structure that was built around CMO, context mechanism, outcome configurations that responded to the original synthesis questions. And we also wanted a framework for further data disaggregation. So to do this, we created a clear coding structure that defined parameters around more, let's say, ambiguous concepts, such as leaving no one behind, or what is gender transformative. So just kind of thinking through what those definitions would look like for this exercise. And then finally, a third element in our synthesis design was human and AI collaboration. And what I mean by this is just, this exercise was a controlled process in the sense that we ensured that there was multi-level validity checks, because, while AI can automate many tasks, human oversight obviously is critical. Especially with an experimental design as this. So we implemented a controlled process with regular review of AI-generated outputs by ourselves, the subject thematic experts, as well as our management group. So the final element obviously is just having an adaptive risk management approach, having the methodological flexibility, to adjust and pivot in the event that methodology doesn't work, and proactive risk mitigation. So maybe I'll stop here and then I'll pass the floor to Tammy, who will go over actually the outcomes of this exercise.
The first, as Karen mentioned, we had three main outcomes. The first one was the evaluation screening and selection. There was an initial criteria that the team, the thematic experts went through, and out of over 1,300 reports, a smaller sample was selected to with a 98% accuracy using both the AI tool and the thematic experts. So out of that, we managed to sample a smaller number of evaluations that, based on quality, based on the thematic focus and the years and the normal type of criteria. The second outcome was the database that both in terms of the text extraction and the coding of the elements that we wanted to focus on for this specific exercise. The first step was to produce, as Karen already mentioned, the conceptual framework that guided the AI coding. And just to mention a few issues that we had that were linked to this were that the approach was requires several iterations, as Karen mentioned, and to redefine both the conceptual framework, but also to train the AI model, and the difficulties around identifying the thematic experts. Then the benefits, as Karen mentioned, were to minimize human error and biases, subjective interpretations, but also improve consistency by training the AI tool. The third outcome The third outcome of this was the database, of course, and the configurations, the AI generated configurations that came out with a summary narrative of the CMO. As Karen mentioned, the CMOs are quite complex given the detail of the initial conceptual model. But with the AI tool, we managed to test and to quality assure the quality of the summary narratives with the support of the thematic experts. Certainly for anyone who's ever done cluster analysis with multi-level, multivariable clustering, you know that there is a high complexity in this. So the AI tool allows us to not only produce the cluster analysis, but also the narratives. And certainly this is a thing that will be a public good, because all the evaluations that were used to inform this database were public. So there's no major issues. This minimizes the issues of ethical concerns, as Neha mentioned at the beginning of the presentation.
Well, just to conclude, I wanted to say that, we've had several lessons as we've gone along this journey. This is a pilot and an experimentation, and we've had to adapt along the way. But as we are closing now this pilot, we are asking ourselves, what has this experience been like? Is this a success? What has worked? What's not worked? Are we ready to replicate and scale up? And that's actually led us at the office to develop an AI scorecard with the following metrics. It looks at quality of results, efficiency, looking at time savings and cost benefit, including any ethical considerations, as well as the user experience for the evaluators. We are going to be closing this AI scorecard next month, and perhaps at the UNEG level, we'll have an opportunity to do an in-depth analysis of how the scorecard does on this pilot initiative. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. Very interesting and nice to hear a number of different pieces of work that are happening. I see there's some questions in the chat. We'll keep putting in questions as you come up with them. We'll go through all the presentations and then come back to Q&A at the end, just to make sure we've got time for everything. And now we will turn it over to Joseph, who's going to present on the use of ADA within UNDP for conducting regional evaluation synthesis.
So thank you, Ross, for the introduction. So I am Joseph, an evaluation synthesis specialist in UNDP IEO. So I will give you a brief presentation on the use of IDA for conducting regional evaluation synthesis, especially considering our current experience in conducting the ARBAS regional synthesis on small and medium enterprise or MSMEs. So I will start my presentation with giving you a brief introduction about IDA. So IDA is it is an evidence platform which is powered by a set of AI and machine learning models, as it was presented in the previous presentation, and it's a powerful tool which is used to search and extract evaluative evidence and develop insights from the UNDP evaluation database. And by doing so, it provides us, a quick and easy access to more than 6,000 UNDP evaluations, which are being conducted in the last 2 decades. So coming to the main focus of this presentation, IDA gives us, a platform to search for evidence using the 4 types of search, and at the same time, it gives us also, to analysis and to analyze and export the search results or the search outputs, and at the same time, if we want to generate the insights based on the search that we had already created. And of course, I will go to each of the slides or the more details to this, and I will also go to the to demonstrate some of the searching on IDA. So let's start on how we conduct searching in IDA using using IDA using the current version that we had in IEO. So the current version that we had is IDA 2.1. So the IDA 2.1 gives you a platform like this one, and we can search the evidence or the evaluation reports that are being included in the database using the keywords. So what you can do is that you can simply write or put your key terms here or the keywords here, or you can also copy and paste the search engines that you have already in other database, so that you can copy and paste and search using the keyword. Or the other way that we can do it, that we can also search using the SDGs, so that we have a list of SDGs, 17 SDGs, and we can search using selecting one of the SDGs or 2 or more than more SDGs. And at the same time, the IDA can also help us, to search using location, like by country or by region. And we can also search, using by topics, using the IDA has already identified subtopics and subtopics, and we can use the searching using these things. So the searching using the keywords is the type of search we use in IDA especially for evaluation synthesis. So what we do is that, as I said before, we can enter or put the key terms here in the query box, or we can build our search using the plus sign here and using the some Boolean operators like and or, and we can build. And the moment we click on search, IDA gives, analyze the information at the paragraph level, and it extracts the evidence you need just within just seconds. And after getting that one, we can apply some filters here using the evaluation attributes or project attributes, or using topics or some sentiments, positive or negative sentiments. Then once we have done that one, you can see, what are the major filters that you have already applied, and you can get the results here. So the results here are the paragraph sections from each evaluation report. So as you can see here, these are the number of paragraph sections which includes, the main keywords that we have already entered. And if we want to group this by report, we can, we can check this one group by report, and we can have, the number of reports with the key search terms or keywords. And once we have finalized our searching, we can, export the file that we have using the CSV file that we have, and we can do some further analysis on that, or anything that we can do. So once we are done with our search and export the CSV file, what we can do is that we can conduct the output analysis, and we can do also the pre-screening, so that we can save our time in the later abstract or executive summary screenings phase. So for this, what in the IEO, what we are trying to develop is that we try to develop such a sheet, which is IDA output analysis templates, which includes the master data set. So the master data set helps us, to collect all the search engine, the search outputs that we have. For instance, if we have, too many interventions and outcomes, so that we can have the search output for each intervention and outcome, and we can collect them in the master data set. Then once we collect all the data, all search outputs, we can create the evaluation pivot table. So that pivot table helps us to filter the data using the keywords showing the number of paragraphs that contain each of the filtered keywords. So based on this, in the ARBAS regional synthesis that we are currently conducted, we have tried to identify 50 reports from 197 potentially relevant evaluations. And to do that, what we do is that we used the counts of paragraphs containing the filtered keywords. And as you can see from here, it puts us the number of key from each study, from each report, we can have the number of count of paragraphs, and we can analyze and put a threshold, so that we can put a threshold and select or use it as a pre-screening. So in this case, we have used the cutoff point, which is greater than or equal to 15, and we from the 197 identified reports, we have included only 50 reports based on that, so for the final inclusion. So once we have done all these things, IDA also gives us an insight, so that if we want to generate insight, we can click on the generate insight based on the search that we have already developed. So once we click the search, the generate the insights, then IDA will take some seconds and gives you, the categories of insights. And if you want to have more details about that insights, we can, click or select the one that is related to our category, and we can click on next, and we can have summaries of the insights from each. And of course, we will see some of them in the demo. So in summary, considering our experience from the ARBAS regional synthesis, IDA can help us to do faster or better, like in supporting the search and extraction of evaluative evidence for synthesis. And at the same time, it supports the pre-screening stage, so that it helps us to identify the most relevant evaluation reports, so that we can save our time and energy for later stages. And the other thing is that it provides us, the evidence-based insights, which can help us in the synthesis stage later on. And here are, some of the important links that you can use to know more about IDA, including the tutorial and some YouTube videos on the IDA introduction. So what we can do is that I will give you just brief 1 or 2 minutes for this one. So as I said before, we can search by keyboard, or we can search using the the SDG. So we can, select whatever we want, and we can click submit, and we can search using the SDG, or we can also search using the location, like using country or region. Or the searching, we can also do it using the topics. For instance, if we click on agriculture, if it's related to agriculture, we can have also, the IDA has also subtopics related to agriculture, and you can click that one, and you can submit and have the search engines. But the most important thing that we use for evaluation synthesis is that synthesis are, using the keyword, search for using the keyword. So for instance, in our case, it was MSME, and the moment we write MSME and click on that, so IDA gives us, immediately the search outputs, like this one. But at the same time, as I said before, we can also create our search here, or if you have already developed the search strategy, we can copy and paste here, and we can, run the search around here, and IDA will give you, the results immediately. And we can filter out whatever we want. So if we want this in the Arab region, and we can also filter it using the evaluation year. For instance, if you select here from 2018 to 2024, then IDA gives you in this way. So that here the paragraph sections, it's 6,274. So here are the list of the paragraph that includes the keywords. That means, and at the same time, if we want to, to group by the report, we can click on that, and IDA gives you, the number of reports which includes these key terms. So we can do all these things. So once we are done with all this, the searching, and if you are sure that we complete the search, what we can do is that we can export the one that we have, and we can select the export, or we can select each, and we can export the selected ones only. And the other function that IDA has is that we can generate insights. So in generating the insights, it takes some time, but I have already had some already done insight. So what IDA do is that once you click on the generate insights, it gives you, with some thematic areas, with having some insights. For instance, this work was on MSME, so that the MSME could be related to jobs and livelihoods, or it could be related to value chains, or it could be related to inclusive economic growth, so that the more we can select whatever we want. If all, we can select, of course all. Then the moment we click next here, it gives us, the summary of each insight and the references which are included in each of the insights. So here, it's green side, which is the sentiment is more mixed positive, and for the value chains is negative. So if there are negative, the what doesn't work, it takes you with such kind of things. And in the inclusive economic growth, you can also see in this way. So through this, you can have a kind of highlight, or you can have the summary of these categories. And if you want, you can look at using this tab, so that you can look at the evidence where it comes, and you can also export the PDF or whatever you want to do. Or if you want, you can also view the extracts which are which comes from the summarized reports like this one. So I will stop my presentation here for the sake of time, and thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much, Joseph. So I used ADA for the SDG5 evaluation synthesis to find evaluations from UNDP for our evaluation universe, and that was the previous iteration. So now I know I have to go back and try the new one, and especially look at the insights to see some of the new functionality that's there. So thank you very much for sharing that. And now finally, we will hear from Tom, and I don't know if Andrea is joining you as well, but we'll hear from Tom and Andrea from the System-Wide Evaluation Office on work that they've been doing to use AI and machine learning in support of their QCPR mapping project. So thank you very much, Tom. So I'll throw it over to you.
Thanks very much, Ross, and thanks for the opportunity to present to both of these working groups, which we really appreciate. I will go relatively quickly in the interest of time, and leaving time for questions and answers. So if anything's not clear, then happy to pick it up in the questions. So first of all, just a quick recap on the position and purpose of the System-Wide Evaluation Office. We have kind of two functions. Firstly, to conduct a small number of system-wide evaluations on system-wide issues and manage evaluations of pooled funds. But secondly, and related to this topic, to promote collaboration and collective learning, and to draw on the vast pool of evidence that's generated across evaluations in the system. So that's of course where this work fits. And today I just want to introduce to you a piece of work that we've been doing this year since around April. which is essentially a pilot project to map and summarize evidence from across the system in support of system-wide decision-making and intergovernmental negotiations. So specifically in support of the upcoming process for the quadrennial comprehensive policy review, which is the mechanism by which the General Assembly sets policy directions and mandates for the across the development system, which will happen from October to December this year. And the opportunity or the gap and niche we're trying to fill with this project, which is a pilot and is a work in progress still, is to draw on the really large body of UN evaluation evidence and address some of the fragmentation and inaccessibility of that evidence to non-specialist audiences and across agencies and system-wide policymakers and decision makers. And the value that we bring as a small system-wide office is our proximity to decision makers in the Secretariat, to DCO, to DESA, to member states, and through our relationship with the Economic and Social Council. And our kind of evidence mapping and summary work also gives us an opportunity to review the state of evaluation across the system, identify gaps, issues which are less addressed, and density of evidence which can be exploited at a higher level and lift that up. So this project, which is a pilot which we've been working on this year, has two outputs. Firstly, to generate a system-wide evaluation evidence map, mapping reports against the priorities of the 2020 QCPR resolution and its monitoring framework. And then secondly, drawing on that map to produce 5 short, around sort of 3,000 to 4,000 word, 10-page use-focused evidence summaries, rapid evidence summaries rather than full syntheses on priority topics identified through assessment of the evidence base and consultation with the users. So those topics are quality of funding, food systems, regional architecture of the development system, the resident coordinator system, and humanitarian development peace nexus. So this is the tool we're using to do the final presentation of this data evidence map and gaps is EpiMapper, which I'm sure a lot of you will be very familiar with. And this will be an interactive online presentation of close to 1,000 evaluations published across the UN system between 2021 and 2024, with a number of options, user-led options for visualization and presentation, including by evaluation type, by QCPR priority, by sustainable development goal, with various options for filtering as well. And one important breakthrough that I'd like to highlight in this part of the work is that my colleague Krishna, I'm not sure is online, but has developed a very useful template for accelerating the conversion of evidence mapping in simple Excel data to EpiMapper outputs, which previously was a challenge and required use of Epi Reviewer software for the coding. But through the creation of a new Excel template, he's managed to kind of shortcut that challenge, and which is really useful. And we think that that can now be used to generate evidence maps quite quickly from simple Excel data. So if you're interested in exploring that, then please do reach out to me or to Krishna, and we'll be happy to share what we've learned in the product that Krishna's come up with. The actual tagging of the reports, the 900 or so reports against the QCPR resolution priorities, 24 themes or priorities we identified, is being done using a combination of human tagging and large language model evidence classification. So we've been working with an AI consultant, which we found to be necessary, I think as other presentations said, to guide us and lead on this work. And this is still work in progress. The final output is not delivered and tested yet, but we've found that evidence classification tagging against priorities in the QCPR using open source large language models and detailed prompts is showing considerable promise. And this is quite exciting because it's obviously much lower cost than building new models and training them So yeah, this is quite promising, although we're yet to fully see the results. There's also a lot of promise in the summarization of reports and the possibility to generate quite high quality abstracts, which are often absent in evaluation reports. There isn't a kind of common practice of writing abstracts for evaluation reports. And so if that could be addressed through generation of abstracts by machine learning and AI, that could be quite a big breakthrough as well. And yeah, I should just highlight that this is that the accuracy of this tagging is to be tested against a manually tagged test set of reports. And that test set and the manual human tagging process is not just for the validation of the accuracy, where we're aiming for around 95%, but it was also a part of the process because the manual tagging helped the human taggers to really understand the evidence base and then developed the prompts for the AI tagging. So it's a sort of, as another presenter said, it's a collaboration between AI and human tagging and an iterative process rather than just a validating testing process. The other strand of this work, and they're connected, of course, is the production of evidence summaries. System-wide thematic evidence mapping allows us to identify topics and then consult on topics for the rapid summary of evidence and identification of issues for consideration, which allows us to lift the common findings and recurrent recommendations from evaluations across multiple agencies up to the system-wide decision-making level, intergovernmental level. So we found that in the last couple of months, using a kind of rapid evidence summary approach rather than a more rigorous synthesis approach, we've been able to draw on samples of 30 to 50 UN evaluations for each topic and present 5 to 10 issues for consideration in a period of around 4 to 6 weeks. And there is potential to go faster than this if we can further leverage AI assistance to maybe expand those samples and increase confidence in the findings, or to reduce the timeframes and increase responsiveness to demands. And some of our lead consultants for the summaries have started to experiment with this. Also, this exercise has thrown up some challenges and some learning about the evidence base that the leads have been summarizing. So challenges, I think, include building in enough time for interagency reference group and peer review while moving really rapidly. Also, in terms of the evidence base used, evaluation quality varies across the system. There is some inconsistent use of terminology on different topics, which can cause challenges in summarizing evidence. A lot of evaluations, even when sampling for the more strategic exercises, have a kind of a more narrow project program focus rather than looking at system-wide issues. There's varied depth of analysis on system-wide cross-cutting issues and UN reform issues, which we're particularly interested in for some of these summaries, such as funding the RC system. And there's limited attention sometimes in single entity evaluations to systemic issues such as business models, the value added of different funding modalities, the behavior of external actors such as donors, the incentive structures they provide, the political economy of the UN system, and overall UN coherence and coordination, which can be treated as more of a sideline issue, which is understandable. So finally, I'll just wrap up quickly and this is back to the mapping side of things. This is work in progress still, but we feel that we've learned quite a lot and identified some key challenges and issues and potential next steps for moving this work forward and realizing a kind of a more permanent and automated self-updating evidence mapping tool across the system. So the first big challenge that we encountered was that there's no comprehensive system-wide repository of evaluation reports with consistent classification and tagging. Our first port of call was the UNEG repository, which we found had quite a lot of gaps and also some duplication and inconsistency in how different types of reports were tagged and classified. And the second big challenge was that once we just found that gathered that full universe of reports across the system, within those reports, the standards and formats vary considerably. So the big thing is that there is no common practice of including abstracts in evaluation reports. Executive summaries also vary in format and length and quality, and some presentation and design formats create some machine readability issues in reports. And finally, the third big challenge is that this is a static evaluation map, which won't update itself. So the challenge is to move forward. So in terms of the next steps on the first challenge, the next step could be to look to automation with APIs to pull evaluation reports into a central repository from existing entity websites. Also to revamp the UNEG repository, which I know that Deb is leading a process to update, and to set some clearer protocols for the use of that repository could improve the system-wide nature of it. In terms of standardizing reports, the next step would be to have some more commonly agreed standards for evaluation reports in terms of format, addition of abstracts, protocols on machine readability, and so on. And finally, the really big one is to move a static mapping approach, or a kind of snapshot approach towards a more living evidence map and synthesis approach, with real-time periodic evidence classification using AI and automation. And that's the next stage that we want to explore, having conducted this pilot and sort of proof of concept. So yes, and we'd be very interested in discussing ideas that anybody from the wider evaluation system has, and how this could be achieved. I'll stop there, so there's time for some questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. Shiv beat me to it, but I was going to also emphasize just the Excel template and how useful that could be. I've been going through the process of converting in vivo output with the EpiMapper team to be able to create an evidence gap map, but having something like this would save a lot of time and make those evidence gap maps a lot more accessible. So really looking forward to trying that. That brings us to the end of our speakers. Thank you very much to everybody. I think those are very practical, relevant examples that we can learn from. We have just 10 minutes left for questions. I know people have been asking questions in the chat, and just thank you to the presenters as well for answering questions as they've been coming up. If there's any questions that haven't been addressed, feel free to put up your hand so that we can get to them. I see, Michael, you've got your hand up already, so why don't we start with you, and feel free to ask your question, and let's have a discussion.
Yeah, this is Mihal from WFP, from the Office of Evaluation in WFP. I just wanted to ask Tom, I see actually someone has asked him already about which software was used for the evidence summaries. I'm very interested in this myself, and just, yeah, I think he's going to give that feedback anyway, but also just if you have any advice for people who are starting off on doing some evidence summaries. I know he talked about the challenges and then the wider systemic things which we need to do collectively, but any word of advice for someone like me who might have to undertake an evidence summary and want to explore how AI can be useful, of course, in a context where we're defining our policy towards that institutionally as well. So, any kind of words of advice on that would be great. Thanks.
Sure. So for the summarizing 30 to 50 evaluations, to be honest, the methodology varied across the 5 different consultants that led them, and that varied from some use of AI assistance back to the kind of more traditional approach and use of in vivo, max QDA, etc. So hard for me to say exactly what the learning on the use of AI was there, but I think what we may try to do is organize a seminar or a webinar with some of the summary leads to exchange on the methods of this rapid approach and how it could be accelerated. So yeah, I think watch this space for that.
Any other burning questions? Maybe I'll ask, just going back to the very start when UNFPA, you were talking about the AI policy or AI strategy. Just like how did you go about creating this and getting the right people around the table, identifying the right people within the organization, as like evaluators or synthesizers or other users of data, and of course others within organizations. Everyone has different sort of requirements or different interests in using AI. So just curious, like how you manage so quickly to put together a strategy and get kind of direction within the organization on this.
Thank you, Ross. Perhaps I take that question. And I think it's an interesting one. And frankly, this was a question that we were asking ourselves 1.5, 2 years ago when, AI blew up and all of us, in various business units and agencies, and also at an individual level, were so curious about this technology. At the very outset, we knew there was an appetite to learn more. But we also realized we needed capacity and we needed to upskill on what this technology was because it was exploding so fast. From week to week, there were new tools, there were policy issues, you were hearing of ethical issues. And at that point, we decided to take a step back and be a bit thoughtful about how we wanted to go about this. Before actually we wrote the strategy, we did a needs assessment of various use cases of AI application within the evaluation process. And at that stage, we of course spoke to evaluators at UNFPA at all levels, but also AI experts, evaluation experts in academia or in the industry who are already starting to use these tools. We also spoke to legal, our IT department, and also evaluation users. Based on that, we also did a solution exploration study. So we had the use cases, but we were like, what tools do we use? And that we knew was getting obsolete so fast. Like we do have a list from 1.5 years ago on these tools work. But whatever exploration that we were doing around the effectiveness of the tools, the accuracy or the ethical parts was constantly evolving with so many new tools in the market. With having said all of that, we reached a natural point to say, we know there are use cases and we know there are tools, but we don't have an approach and we have to be deliberate about it. And that actually led to the genesis of this strategy, where we were like, yes, we want to use it, but we know there is little resources. We are a medium-sized evaluation function. We know there is promise, but we need to take, like small steps. We don't want to rush in, and we want to be very thoughtful about where AI is really going to bring in value. We are not using AI for the sake of it. We are not experimenting for the sake of it, but it really adds some value to the evaluation process in terms of like, are we increasing efficiency? Is it really effective? Are we increasing timeliness of our evaluations? Are we increasing the usefulness in some way? And that's actually, where I talked about the AI scorecard. And this thought from the strategy is actually culminating in the scorecard because we are very mindful. We are doing this experiment, but are we really getting somewhere in terms of like an AI-driven methodology? So we are using it towards a very purposeful end. That's the start of it. And we made sure, the strategy was out there and public. There's been a lot of interest in the strategy, just not only from an organizational perspective, but it also gives an insight onto how do you set up a project when you're starting out, whether it's, in synthesis or within an evaluation process. What are some of the key things to think about if you're an evaluation manager or an evaluator? Just as a closing point, we also revamped our evaluation quality assessment and assurance system last year, and we made sure within the evaluation quality assessment process, we also had some indicators around AI use. So if an evaluation actually used AI, were we sort of, checking it, measuring it, and quality assuring that? So thank you.
Great, thank you. I can see from the chat there's a lot of interest in this topic, which is great. Interest in the Excel spreadsheet, and I can see there'll be some sessions coming up on that.
Yeah, it's not a question. It's just an announcement. I mean, I think this has been a really interesting session, and it's obvious that things are really moving fast in this space. Keep an eye on Saturday when the Global SDG Synthesis Coalition is supporting the side event at the Summit of the Future, where some major announcements are going to be made it's a major investment. We're all very excited on the use of AI for synthesis from some key donors. So for the rest of this year and into next year, I think there's going to be some huge progress on this in terms of the development of tools specifically for synthesizing evaluations. It's really, really exciting. And this time next year, we'll be having another session, and I'm sure things will have developed, exponentially.
Great. And that actually ties in with what I was about to say, which was just, as this work continues to gain momentum, let's just think about how we can create synergies amongst our offices to avoid duplication of tools and processes, so we can continue to learn from each other, whether that's hosting more of these sessions or through other mechanisms. Because I think the work of both of these working groups is really quite novel and interesting and useful for all of us. See, we're at the hour. I don't see any more hands up, so just thank you again to all of our presenters for taking the time. And thank you everybody for participating as well. I think it's been a very, very interesting hour. We'll make the presentations available and the recording available to everybody as well. And yeah, with that, just thank you again for joining, and please enjoy the rest of your day.